Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. My name is DK Diamantes. His name is Bricky. You know why you're here. And if you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast and you want to support us, head over to patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous, where you can get access to the bloopers, Discord if it happens. Wow, I mixed those up. It doesn't matter. $15 tier gets you access to all of our posters in crispy digital HD format. The new posters are those just banging orc posters. They're great. Patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous. Bricky, how are you? What a day to be alive.
Monday.
Sounds like someone's got a case of the Mondays.
Really? What's in the case?
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, damn straight you weren't.
I was expecting like an office space, like, oh, I do believe someone would punch you for saying something like that or something. But I was not expecting the actual physical case of Mondays.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the only person who has the biggest case of the Mondays is Garfield. But that man, that's a fat cat.
Yeah, I mean, he might have a case of the Mondays, but he's also got like a case of lasagna. So,
You ever think about how horrible for you lasagna can be? Like, it's just like a million layers of pasta with meat and cheese.
Yeah, but like most wonderful things in life, it tastes so good.
It does.
It tastes so good. And you can modify it to make it relatively healthy.
One would argue as well that modifying lasagna in such a way could be deemed to be improving upon the intentions of God. God made that lasagna, and your idea of improving on it is blasphemous.
I mean, actually, God didn't make the lasagna. I think Italians made the lasagna. God made the Italians that made the lasagna, but yeah.
I was about to say, what do Italians believe in?
I don't know, Bricky. What do Italians believe in?
They believe in the Book of Lorgar. That's right. That's right.
Hey, is that what we're doing today? Are we doing the Book of Lorgar? Are we talking about some of the folks from Monarchia?
You really took a big breath to get your Italian accent out there.
You gotta do it. You gotta get it really, you gotta wind up.
I did kind of decide to slip a little hint in there during the lasagna talk, but it was too stupid for it to necessarily actually be noted. So I'll go ahead and give you a quote.
Okay.
All right. The path of the Omnissiah has left humanity dithering in the darkness, incapable of advancing on the paths of knowledge. Embracing the warp reveals technology that the primitives on Mars could never dream of wielding.
Ooh.
I wanted an easy one.
So it's so they're not big. Whoever this is not big fans of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They're foolish Mars people, right?
Well, if they're calling the people of the Omnissiah and Mars dumb, then
idiots.
Yes, they probably aren't that.
I am probably wrong, but I'm just gonna put this out into the ether that, man, I sure hope this is a Dark Mechanicum episode.
Yay!
Let's go!
Yippee!
Let's go! Even if I was wrong, I was like, yeah, I'm planting the seeds. Even if I'm wrong, wouldn't a Dark Mechanicus episode be good? But I was, I had a feeling.
But here's the question, DK. Is it Dark Mechanicus or is it Dark Mechanicum?
It's taking every fiber of my being not to make a semen joke.
Yeah, I know. I emphasize the cum quite
I usually
obviously.
do too, so,
What? It's fine. I don't care anymore.
Well, I just mean when I say Mechanicum, you tend to emphasize that.
I don't
Dark
care.
Mechanicus, huh? Dark Mechanicus. Man, they sure. Why don't they have many minis? Oh, what about their dark history? What?
Fantastic questions, all about. Thank you for your time. I hope you yield the rest of it. The Dark Mechanicum, yes, a painfully underrepresented faction in Warhammer. with a pretty badass symbol, won't lie.
Oh, yeah. That is sick.
That is pretty cool. Until slightly recently, they have received a little, like, extra bookity-doodad thing for the Horus Heresy. But it's a Horus Heresy Dark Mechanicum, so it's not quite the same. Dark Mechanicum in 40K and Dark Mechanicum in 30K are very different. Very, very different. I mean, for the most part, this is one of those difficult situations where you can't really just make a blanket statement about the Dark Mechanicum. There's too many different sects and too many different things. So if I'm going to say, like, well, Dark Mechanicum sometimes believe this, you'll be like, oh, they all believe that? I'm like, no, sometimes they do. These guys believe this instead. And they go in a lot of different directions. But
okay.
Yeah, the new minis are very cool, though.
Ooh.
Spider Boys.
Oh, yeah. And they're just like a little rusted. It looks like they put some like little chaos symbols on there, too. Ooh.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Because like right now we're getting some 30K Horus Heresy era Dark Mechanicum stuff, which is awesome. But they're also, because it's 30K, it's not like that fucked up.
Oh,
you know?
Right, yeah.
Because, like, a reminder, it's not just the Iron Warriors. The Dark Mechanicum were kind of the ones who did make the Demon Kielbasa. Like, that is their tech when you think about it.
Yeah, I guess they did kind of sort of influence the Demon Kielbasa, and yeah.
And maybe more than influence, they probably built it. You know, the Iron Warriors probably thought it up and then had them build it or, like, work together, right?
Yeah.
So, but like back then, the Dark Mechanicum were a little different, but there's a little bit of history to be noted.
Okay.
So, may I remind you that there is a difference between the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Adeptus, and the Cult Mechanicus and the Mechanicum.
What exactly is the difference? Because, like, I know we said the Dark Mechanicus is different from the Dark Mechanicum, and what, like, are they actually, like, different sects? And, like, they have different...
So not... it's more so a little bit of, like, a different time frame. So you have, like, the Adeptus Mechanicus, and Adeptus is often like the official Adeptus is the official imperial name for it from like the Adeptus Terra. It's the military branch, the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Adeptus Custodes. You have the Adeptus Astartes. That is a sect of like that kind of military stuff. Back then and currently, there is also the Cult Mechanicus. And then there is also the Ancient Mechanicum. It's a difference that has to be stated every time because it is important yet confused constantly. And I do it all the time myself where I just say like, oh yeah, the Mechanicus back in 30K. Because people just think of Mechanicus as like a blanket term when it's not. But because there's so many of it gets all confusing. I've taught you this before, but it is that confusing. If you remember, Age of Strife happened, shit was terrible. Life was awful. During the Age of Strife and then the following times after the Age of Strife, the people began to revere machines because those were the main things that kept them alive in the horribly irradiated Mars and all things like that. So eventually, it became not just like propping up people who could handle the machines. It became revering those people. It became revering the machines themselves. And then the cult kind of formed as the blessed machine god. This, God, I hope I'm right on this one because even I get confused sometimes. This is the Mechanicum. The Mechanicum back in the Age of Strife and beyond.
Okay. So the early days before they're aligned with the Imperium.
And so if I'm correct, the Mechanicum are that original cult from way back in the day. And then there was the alliance, of course, with Terra. And so that if I'm correct, is the cult Mechanicus.
Okay.
And then unless Shai is going to update me there, once, I believe, post-heresy, they were assimilated into the Imperial group and became the Adeptus Mechanicus as a force. Yeah, so Shai has it here. Faction ruling Mars was the cult Mechanicus, and the governing organization of the Tech-priests was the Mechanicum. So faction versus governance. That I've heard the cult Mechanicus be described both as a sect and as a fundamental belief system. But honestly, I'm getting a little bit too deep into semantics here. Way back when, it was the Mechanicum, right? Mm-hmm. This was pre-Horus Heresy. This was back in that time. And I don't know, maybe not a super commonly known thing, is that back when, pre-Horus Heresy, back in the day, on Mars, there were a lot of sects. No, stop, don't, S-E-C-T-S.
I love the fact that I didn't say a goddamn thing, and there was a pause, and you just knew, and you were just like, no, I gotta cut this off at the pass. I got no.
Is December our 4 or 5 year anniversary, Shai?
I think it's 4.
I think it's our 4-year anniversary. I've gotten used to this.
You've learned a thing or two about a thing or two.
But yes, they had a lot of sects of different kinds of factions on Mars, and they believed in different things. Some people fervently believed in the divine worship of the machine god, and that improvement upon the machine god's blessed design is blasphemy. That is the main one we know of today. To invent is to blaspheme against the creator's divine work.
Yes.
Then you had other people who were a lot more loosey-goosey with that kind of stuff, where they believed that like maybe pure invention was blasphemy, but adjustments upon the divine work, but like STCs were acceptable because, you know, the divine work was given to them all in their hands to create. And
oh, okay.
There were different groups with different opinions, and you know, the unity between Terra and Mars was not like tumultuous, but it was not all encompassing. The Emperor probably could have taken over Mars by force, but not in a good way.
It would have been too difficult. They would have lost too many resources. Much better to ally with them and make a little treaty, a little, hey, we're together, than, you know, lose more than half your forces trying to take Mars.
And Mars was pretty insane too. Like I don't think the Emperor would have lost, but I think that there's like a chance. It's
wow,
like,
so it wasn't even guaranteed that he would have taken Mars.
I mean, we're going into like hypotheticals now. He probably could.
Okay.
I'm giving him like a 90% chance he could, but goddamn, would it have been tough?
Yeah.
But the machine cult, and for the most part, just the Mechanicum, they don't love the Emperor. Some consider him to be the servant of the machine god, the envoy, the omnissiah, and some saw him as like a ruler that is definitely powerful, more so suits their purposes. He needed the Mechanicum for the Great Crusade, and the Mechanicum wanted the ability to utilize the Great Crusade and other types of things to go out and get more STC fragments and so on.
Sure. Hey, they needed each other.
They did.
Symbiotic relationship.
Alliance of convenience. However, of course, with times, it can get a bit strayed here and there. As we've seen over and over again, the Mechanicum are just not that fun to deal with.
Oh, man. If the books are any indication, oh, man. Not only are they not fun to deal with, but they're often just, screwing up. And checking out the wrong artifact and, Chaos Gate now? What have we done? And it's like, man, do you have to always try and take the Necron tech? Do you? Really?
Or unearth another tomb world here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, if Space Marine 2 is anything to go by, they despise the Mechanicus. But it is quite funny. Regardless, though, with the amount of, like, strainedness there, and the different factions that are like, yeah, screw the Emperor. I hate that stuff. He's not an envoy of the machine god. He's an asshole. There was he is certainly a tyrant. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
There were issues going back and forth, and so on the onset of the Horus Heresy, Horus gets his ass shanked, which we just read about.
We did.
And things are getting tough, and chaos and the usual. It was one of the biggest and most important things that Horus needed in his war. What was the manufacturing of Mars? Because, oh my God, of course he does.
Yeah, good luck trying to fight the Empire of Man, the Imperium of Man, without the help of tech-priests and everything that they make. Like, your conquest isn't even going to get off the ground without them.
I mean, that's probably genuinely exactly the case. Whoever owned Mars owned the heresy, and him owning Mars would absolutely be one of those situations where, if he didn't get what he needed, he would not have even gotten to Terra.
Oh, yeah.
It was so important.
Mm-hmm.
But going from there, he sent an envoy over to Mars. This was a dude known as Regulus. Regulus was a tech priest, classic type classic person. And Regulus went over to the Fabricator General of Mars, this guy named Kelbor Hal, or Hal. I don't know exactly.
I do like the robot guy being named Hal.
Yeah, Kelbor Hal. Yeah.
I do like the Hal 9000, right?
That right there, what Shai just posted, that's Kelbor Hal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Kelbor Hal was the Fabricator General of Mars. And in that, Regulus went up and was basically like, hey, bro, how's it going? What's up? Listen, here's the deal. Emperor, not that cool. Don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
Think he's a false prophet. Not a great guy. Horus, however, this guy is the shit. He's the real man. He's the one who is going to actually help bring humanity to the age that we want to. He's the one that's going to actually be the main help in here. So get this. We're going to take over, and we want you to fund the Warmaster specifically. And if you pledge the loyalty to him and fund only his stuff, then you will, once the heresy is over, we're going to be so Gucci. You're going to be doing well. We'll have this all head down. You will rule all of Mars. You
tempting offer.
Not just these regular sects between here and there, all that kind of stuff. And then he was like, brother, that's dumb. Oh, what? I trade the Emperor for another Terran-born tyrant? Please. Not interested. Not about that. I'm literally getting the exact same thing I've got now, just with a different hand. Plus, I already give you a bunch of stuff. What? I already give you half of the stuff. It's the Warmaster's thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even with that, though, he was like, okay. Regulus was like, I'll sweeten the deal a little bit. Next up, we will give you all of the STCs that we have gotten from our crusade. The Sons of Horus have gotten these special things from this special group called the Aretian Technocracy, which is a super advanced human civilization way out in the time that they brought into compliance. They have a ton of STCs. We will give you those as well.
Ooh, that is a good way to sweeten the deal with an admech. That is a nice little pot.
It is. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. Do you want to read Shai's message there?
Sure. Shai says the Oretian technocracy was funny. Horus asked the Oretian leader if his people had developed their advanced technology from STC databases. When the leader answered in the affirmative, Horus had immediately turned his bolt pistol upon their leader and blew out the back of his head and said, "Oh my god, he was about to attack me. They are chaos. Kill them all and take their STCs. Lol."
You know, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah, that, oof,
What a guy.
What a guy that Horus, right? What a guy.
What a guy that Horus, indeed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He had a heresy and everything.
But ironically, he had no hair.
Ah, amazing. He was a bald boy, but no hair. Well,
yeah. He was heresy with no hair. However, even then, he was like, okay, not bad. But you don't quite got me yet. Well, this is cool, but we're not fully there. And so Regulus gave him the last possible thing, which was a promise that when the Warmaster is taken over, all restrictions on research into abominable intelligence against AI and heretical research, including warp-tainted things, would be completely lifted. You can research whatever the hell you want, and the Emperor will not forbade this anymore because he won't be there to do so. Even moreover, you will be allowed to open the Vaults of Moravec, which is a fancy depository of knowledge and of the techno-arcane in the world of Mars, sealed in a massive vault specifically, and I quote, "The vaults of Moravec must never be opened. You will swear this oath to me, Kelbor Hall, or the union between Terra and Mars will be no more, said by the Master of Mankind."
Oh, really? Big E didn't want that thing opened.
Big E was like, you open this and we're fucking done. Pack your shit. And I mean, he'll die, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Ooh, that makes me curious what's in there, because that, if it's that important, then Big E knows that, like, if they open that thing, that's no good for us. Ooh. So this must have tipped the scale and been like, oh, well, when you put it like that, I guess we can work something out.
Oh, at that point, Kelbor Hal did like an awooga face with his one remaining eye. It popped out of his damn face, and he was like, all right, deal.
Yeah, that's kind of a hard pot to turn down.
I mean, it is a huge help, obviously, but it's also important because there's and I always forget the name of this because it always eludes me, but it's basically they have like a colloquialism for artificial intelligence besides abominable intelligence. It's called like silica something or another, but obviously the God Emperor Mankind forbade all artificial intelligence because of what happened back in the Age of Strife and the Men of Iron. But because we're in 30K, knowledge about AI and stuff is forbidden, but it's not like completely off the table.
Sorry, so they can still research it like a little bit.
Nope,
but
I got that
wrong.
Got that wrong.
Okay.
Sorry, no, that's not off the table. It's that there are people who still like the idea. The thought of doing it is still there. The unification between the two of them is like a no AI, no go. But there are definitely people who are like, I wish we could, because like AI is like fine. It was promised before, but we have safeguards now, or something like that. It's not total fucking blasphemy like it is now.
Okay, so like you can still consider it. You can't do it. You can't make it. But just thinking about it and thinking about the pros and cons isn't going to get you, like, you know, shackled and chained in a dungeon.
Silica Animus, that's right. The Silica Animus, that's the AI's colloquialism.
Okay.
Yeah.
The polite way to call AI.
Well, as opposed to abominable intelligence.
Yeah. I guess that's a little harsh.
But yeah, because there were so many sects of different places on Mars, they think about different ideas, and AI is one of them in that method. But this is basically, you know, because Big E says, no, you can do all this stuff now. You can have it all. Here's your STCs, and we'll let you open the terrifying vaults of Moravec, and God knows what's underneath there.
Yeah.
So basically from here, Kelbor Hall was like, hell yeah. But anyway, Kelbor Hall said, yeah, buddy, down. And so began, of course, a massive schism on Mars. And from there, they unleashed a ton of scrap code across Mars, infecting a whole lot of people with, this chaos-tainted code, or letting themselves be infected for, reasons because they're weirdos. And then became the Civil War on Mars, which there are many books about, and also, that was kind of partially why the vaults of Moravec were open, because of that scrap code. It was open and then it just went and screwed everybody up.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it made chaos literally emerge in any kind of system, cogitator, network, etc. We're talking reactors were melted down, nukes everywhere, of course. Production lines ended. Basically, Mars went into full-blown civil war.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, anytime you got 40K, full-blown civil war and chaos, you got to have nukes. You got to radiate the hell out of the planet, right?
Oh, yeah. It completely removed Mars entirely from the war. And then, all the other Forge worlds outside of Mars had a little bit of, a question going on with what to do. Because, some were like, oh, yeah, for the Warmaster. Some were like, hell no. And some were kind of just, sitting back and waiting to see what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
Don't pick a side yet.
Don't pick a side.
Wait till there's a clear winner, and then I don't want to upset anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was basically Mars was just completely out of commission. And for the most part, the Imperial fleet had to make sure that nothing came out of Mars, because things that came out of Mars would be, most likely dastardly.
Okay. So at the very least, Horus had nullified the advantage of Mars that the Imperium had. Not a lot of stuff was getting out of it, but it was well, I'm not getting anything extra. But neither is Big E, and so now we're on more of a level playing field if we, strand some Space Marine chapters.
Yeah, that, and also he had other Forge worlds helping him out outside of Mars. I mean, of course, Mars is the big one, but
yeah,
you know how it goes.
Yeah. So canceling out Mars is a big deal if you're trying to take Terra.
Yeah, and so from there, for the most part, the entirety of Mars and the schism of Mars is a whole other section to be discussed. But with that, you did have them figuring out the end goal of the general heresy ending the same way it ended with the rest of the Traitor Legions. By the way, Kelbor Hall, as far as we're aware, we don't know where he's at.
We don't know if he's alive, dead, indifferent, just unrecorded.
I'm pretty sure the fate of Kelbor Hall is completely unknown. I mean, maybe he's popped up, but I'm pretty sure after the Horus Heresy, we just don't know where he's at.
Okay, but I say he could be dead. I mean, but yeah. I would imagine if anyone in the Imperium found him, he would not be long for this world.
No, and I'm sure. Listen, if GW wanted to be uber based, they would bring out the Dark Mechanicum Codex, and he would be the named character.
Ooh.
You would get a 10K-year-old Kelbor Hall Mechanicum dude in your crazed Dark Mechanicus Codex or something. That would be the one.
Ooh, yeah. Does the Dark Mechanicum have a and you're probably gonna tell me, do they have a specific leader type person? I guess I wouldn't compare do they have a Belisarius call? Because that's not exactly a leader of the Admech. But do they have a figurehead?
I mean, Vashtor just kind of showed up.
Oh, true. Vashtor would be the one that would kind of. That's true. I keep forgetting about Vashtor.
How dare you, for one. And two,
no, he's so cool.
I mean, Vashtor maybe isn't their figurehead. He's his own kind of god thing. And as we'll talk in a moment, not all Dark Mechanicum love chaos. But for the most part, I can't think of one particular group that's leading all of them. There's a bunch of rogue tech priests and high level. I don't know if they have Dominus technically, or if that's more of a Imperium thing, but those kinds of folks will be out and about. And also, I mean, as we've discussed many times before, what is the number one thing stopping chaos from doing better?
The number one thing stopping them from doing better?
In fighting. They're always, every chaos faction is always beating on each other.
That's true. They're never united, and
yeah. And so even with all of their powers and the unrestrained warp strength and stuff, that's a common issue. But Kelbor Hall is out somewhere. We don't know where. Maybe he'll get some stuff soon. But with the, advent, also, that's post-heresy Kelbor Hall. He looks like a baller.
Oh my God, how have they not made a mini of him? Yeah, what the hell?
The ragged robes and everything. It's so cool.
Yeah, it just seems like he would be a really good, like, oh yeah, we're making the Dark Mechanicus a thing. He's the leader. Right? Like, he would be like the commanding unit that, like, drives most of the Dark Mechanicum.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. But from there, the Dark Mechanicum actually pretty much won the war on Mars. The problem is that after winning the war on Mars and winning the secession, all of the rest of the Imperium showed up, Horus died, and as usual in the Great Scouring, they needed to get their asses gone.
Oh man, that sucks. So they did their part and they took over Mars and they had Mars, but that was only a minor battle when your side loses the war.
It was a big battle. Don't get me wrong, but then after that, everyone showed up. Like the Ultramarines and Dark Angels arrived, and then at that point, it was and Sanguinius died, and all the Blood Angels went insane. And people were just getting butchered. So at that point, all the heretics ran screaming. And the Mechanicum as well. They packed up their toys, as many as they could, and they fled. Lots of different areas they fled. They fled to the darkest reaches of space. They fled into the Eye of Terror. That's the big one. One of the things that's kind of funny is, like, things exist in the... Like, a lot of them, like, ran into the warp. They ran into the Eye of Terror, into the warp. And it's always kind of a funny thing when it comes to, like, living in the warp, because there's planets and stuff in the warp, but then there's also planets that are, like, thinly veiled between real and unreal, very just barely existing between the two of them. And from there, that's where the Mechanicum made their bed. The Dark Mechanicum, that is.
In like the thinly veiled kind of not worlds?
And, like, in areas of the Eye of Terror, areas in the warp. Because there's, like, demon worlds, that are in the warp. But then there are the ones that are, like, halfway in the warp, halfway not in the warp.
Yeah. So they're literally living in hell.
I mean, sometimes. Sometimes they just live really far away. You know how, like, way, way, way far away you go ahead and have the area where the Light of Terror does not reach?
So they're in the Outer Rim.
No, not the darkness of space, but just the way far away parts where, like, sometimes Necrons and stuff are there. But yes, they make their worlds, which are hell forges, instead of forge
worlds. Yep, we're evil. We're hell forge.
Hell forges. That's the big difference.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it is a badass little name. But from there, the Dark Mechanicum are out and about, serving Chaos, their own interests, and more. And the Dark Mechanicum, what they're up to is not great.
I imagine not. Like, they're the Dark Mechanicum. Like, it's not like they're going to be mass-producing candy canes for orphans out there.
Oh, no, they're mass-producing candy canes that are actually switchblades to stab those orphans.
That's more what I was expecting. Like...
The thing about the Dark Mechanicum, and what's interesting about them, is that they are so varied in what they make. They are incredibly varied, and it can lead to some of the worst shit imaginable, or they can just look like Renegade Mechanicus. Which, in fairness, the Admech also look like the worst shit imaginable pretty often.
Yep.
Because the Admech are horrible.
So what are we going to talk about? Some of the weird shit that they make?
They got some stuff to talk about the weird shit they make, but you've seen a lot of it already. Much like how the Mechanicus supplies stuff for the Imperials, the Dark Mechanicum supplies stuff for the Hereteks. But a lot of their stuff you've seen are, like demon engines. which is a big part of it.
Okay. Yeah, so they're the ones that are supplying all the... I don't know why I thought that the demon engines were purely like just something that spewed out of the warp. Like they were just like warp entities, and they just whoop. Here I am. I'm a demon engine. I don't know why it didn't why I didn't connect the dots of, well, of course you need someone to make a demon engine, and of course that person would be the Dark Mechanicum.
Well, I mean, if you remember, a lot of demon engines are also made by like Iron Warriors. They trap demons in like big machines and then make them turn into gross and grotesque monsters that go out and kill things.
True.
Which is always fun. But, you know, I mean, the
for
Lord...
them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's fun for some people.
It's not fun when you're the one getting crunched between the jaws.
But a good way to kind of describe it is generally... knowing the cults is a good way. Because for the most part, the Dark Mechanicum are similarly... poised as the Mechanicus, where they are entirely about brutal, unrelenting efficiency. They're purely about the use of humans and machines to further their goals above all else. You may remember in the one we talked about with Kirioth, where you have all of the Admech making servitors. And it's just like, it's just this horrifying process.
Yep.
This is the same.
Is very reminiscent of history stuff.
This is the same, but maybe give it a bit of a warp or like even Dark Eldar spin to it all. So, like, I don't know. Like, what is, you think of like you as a human, you know? Like, okay, you, human DK, you're there and you are on a Hellforge. Unfortunately, I don't know what you did in the past life.
Yeah, apparently something real bad.
Yeah, so it's some horrible crap like you did. I don't know. Maybe you kicked puppies. Maybe you're like Big Jack Horner. Who knows?
I would never. Puppies are so cute.
Whatever the reasoning is.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So you're there, and you are a slave, probably. You are working in the manufactorums and all the horrible things, making hell engines, and the entire Hellforge planet is just like coughing toxic smoke and clouds, and it's just this black environment, and it's awful.
Lucky me.
Let's say you I don't know, break your limbs on the machinery, because that's probably pretty common, and will definitely
that probably
happen.
Is, yeah.
That'll definitely happen.
Yeah, it's pretty common in the Imperium too, probably, and they just okay.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, well, that sucks, man. I guess your broken limbs, you got some skin on those, right? You got some bones, you got some blood. No. Let's go ahead and take the skin. We'll use it as like reinforcement or maybe like a parchment or something like that to help out this other part of this factory. Your bones, we'll use it as like a makeshift rebar to maybe stabilize some rockcrete. What do we got here? Some flesh. Okay, we can grind that up and use it as either part of a summoning, or maybe we'll give it to like a demon engine to help enhance its form. Sick. And then we'll find you a new job, and that you can use without your arms. And then if you lose your legs, then we'll just kind of leave you there and like feed you until we need another part of you, and then another part of you, and then it's just like. It's pure efficiency.
Right. They'll always find a use for you, even if it's just, harvesting your organs and your bones to make something else more efficient.
Maybe they need a sacrifice.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Chaos is always in need of, blood human sacrifices. That's true. Can't work. Good news. Chaos sacrifice. Oh, good.
Yeah. It's like, sorry, you lost your legs and your arms in some kind of major manufactorum incident. That's fine. We'll just put the rest of your body in the middle of the summoning circle, and you'll be the one that helps birth a demon.
Hooray!
Hooray! Don't you worry, DK. We will use every part. Nothing will go to waste.
Nothing will go to waste.
We are very, very efficient people. Would you like to read that quote from Shai?
Yeah. Those fools and their talk of spirits and rights. Technology is cause and consequence, mechanism and effect, and should not be so restrained and mishandled as those red-robed simpletons would believe. Let's go.
Red-robed simpletons.
Those red-robed simps.
But for, like, it's hard to describe the horrors of the Dark Mechanicum because they're entirely unending and varied. You know, like you can go as far as demon engines, which are classic, trapping demons into boxes and turning them into horrifying troops that you use against people. You can use them for summoning demons as additional troops. They maybe use warp as a type of scrap code to empower machines. There's the demon kielbasa, of course, you know, which was in a sense an attempt to make more powerful super soldiers.
Yep.
There is no error. That's the thing, is that there's no field of study that is unacceptable.
That's true, because the Dark Mechanicum would just be like, oh yeah, everything's on the table. We don't have any restrictions. That's the whole reason we did this, is because somebody promised us that we could do AI, we could do heretical research, we could open our pretty little vault that we're not supposed to. So yeah, it makes sense that the Dark Mechanicum would make all sorts of nightmare fuel.
I mean, and you kind of can tell the difference between the various like heretic cults, because they're heretic. I always forget about that. Goofy.
I do like that. I do like the heretic.
It's so goofy, but like it works because it's 40K, and 40K is so goofy.
Yeah.
But the notable like heretic cults, for example, one of them, the most notable, is the Apostles of the Blind King, which is just a really, really good name.
Oh yeah.
And the Apostles of the Blind King are basically these rogue tech priests that believe that the existence of, you know, flesh, organic stuff is in its own right an affront to the machine god in itself. The existence of it, of weak organic humanity, is an affront.
Oh.
And so for them, their big thing is, supernovaing stars.
As you do when you think humans are an affront to God. Of course.
So, for example, they found in very lost Dark Age technology power the ability to create supernovas and suns, and constellations were literally changed from their doing. They purged some areas in the Segmentum Obscurus way back when, and from there they would just find the supply lines and things that the Imperium needed and would just blow it up.
Well, efficient. That fits. It's efficient. It's like, oh, supply line, nuh-uh, supernova. Well, I mean, that is efficient. They are efficient.
Yeah. It's extremely efficient.
Yep.
There's another one, though. On the opposite side, there is a group called the Logicians. And the Logicians are interesting because they're not chaos lovers. They consider... This is really funny because when you read this, it's going to feel weird. Founded not around a single charismatic figure or dark religion, they find their inspiration in a forbidden heretical text called In Defiance of the Future, a Logical Discourse. Banned for several millennium, they are a so-called progressive cult favoring the advancement of mankind through progress and acquisition of technology, and should cast off the oppression of the Ministorum and overthrow the High Lords of Terra to stop smothering the constraints, to bring back the power of the mythic Dark Age technology, and in doing so, go past all of the annoying constraints of AI and various abilities to enhance and invent new technology.
Huh. That doesn't actually sound too bad.
No, they don't.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the Imperium would find them very heretical, but, like, you know, that sounds like a pretty good Dark Mechanicus faction for just humans in general.
Now, the downside for the Logicians, however, is that despite the fact that there is no demonic forces or some kind of like crazy apocalyptic warp stuff in any of their stuff, because they're not chaos worshippers, they are still horrifying, because instead of being worshippers of dark gods, and even though they aim for the progressive stance of this, they are progressive as tyrants. They are trying to reach the Golden Age, Dark Age technology at any means necessary. So the efficiency that I talked to you about before is still very much there. There's just no warp taint.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so they're still pretty evil, just not in a chaosy way.
I mean, they're Imperial evil. They are constantly looking for the newest type of power and to bring their power back to the olden days. And in doing so, they do horrible, horrible things to man.
Okay. So they're definitely one of those ones that are grinding up the bones and throwing the corpse onto... Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Maybe not chaos summoning or demons, but yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Lovely.
There's a couple others. The Tech Witches of Amnicus Toll is one of them. Pyrrhic Engineers are one of them, which is a fun one. They have devices that turn the warp upon itself to annihilate and destroy demons that transgress upon their labors.
Ooh, that sounds like a handy little thing to be able to do, to like turn the warp on its... That's... Ooh.
They have the ability to draw forth essence from the warp and imprison it in fields to study as well. They have a bunch of null fields in order to do so, shield walls, things like that. And so they're studying the entities of the warp with a like Drukhari's patience.
Ooh, that's cool. I like that. I don't know why, but that seems like the coolest one we've talked about so far, just because it's like, they've got like, and there's so much risk too, because if one of your little null fields goes wrong, oops, all chaos. So I like that. I like that.
They also have like, when people join their cult, they have to swear what's the word? Unwavering, thank you, unwavering loyalty. But in doing so, they're given ward sigils and things like that to kind of protect them against the Imperium.
Ooh, yeah, I like them. They're cool. Anyone that can like trap to warp in a bubble and study it, and also, man, I bet the Imperium wishes they had them back or at all.
I mean, they're handy, but unfortunately, they're diving into heretical studies. There are many machine cults that are full on like, I want to bring back the Men of Iron. I am going to use the warp to bring back AI.
True, I guess some of these Dark Mechanicus, Dark Mechanicum would probably want to just be like, yay, AI robots, let's go. Man is weak, flesh is weak. Give me that sick siege of Iron Men. That makes sense.
Shah makes a good point. Very often, Dark Mechanicum don't consider themselves the bad guys. Much like
Shocking.
Chaos, they are like, those blasted Imperials are assholes that betrayed us with their inability to understand real science, worshipping a dead dude, performing rituals over machines. What a bunch of assholes. Now, we're going to make real progress. Now bring me 1 billion more slaves from my AI targeting plasma gun. I'm running out of slaves.
Damn, and the stupid Imperium, they're so evil. Oh, Dark Mechanicum, you silly, silly boys.
It's that thing where they have shedded the yoke of the Imperium's moronic superstition, but in doing so, they still just don't care about people in any metric.
Well, it is 40K, and that is, that's par for the course.
It is. They have a couple interesting things that they, like some of the old arts that they've created as well. One of the weirdest one is something called Golem, or Golem. It's Gholam. It's a type of flesh work that allows for the creation of synthetic tissue, and they make things called murder golems, which are gigantic organic fabrications entirely used for violence.
Of course. They're called murder golems. What else would they be used for, right?
Yeah, and there's also homunculites, which are formed from human organs, serums, and other kinds of tissue. Chimerics is a big one, which is a combination of tons of DNA twisted together with very unpredictable results. There's these slaver parasites. Basically, they, instead of like casting away the flesh, as in like the flesh is weak sometimes, they might just, makes stuff very Drukhari-like.
Yeah, that's I'm about to make a very weeb reference here, but that's very Full Metal Alchemist. The weaving of DNAs and just the chimeric bonding. It's where you get the meme of like the little girl and the dog getting
I'm sure they're fine.
No, it's so.
Did the dad do anything wrong?
I think the better question is, did the dad do anything right?
I mean, I'm sure he was just doing it for, like, love.
Because, like, not only did the dad do it to his daughter and his dog, he did it to his wife, too.
Oh. For science.
Yeah, for science. For his state funding. He needed to come up with something cool. So he's like, oh, look, I made my wife a chimera that can speak. And then when he was up for, like, it was like, oh, yeah, you need to make progress. Otherwise, we're taking your funding. And it was like, well, I guess I'd better fuse my dog with my daughter.
Okay, maybe he's a bit of an asshole. I see. Okay. Other things that heretics like to make. AI, of course. Silica Animus, naturally.
Of course. Sure.
There's Malefica, which is fun. It's an arcane science to manipulate the energies of the warp, which is obviously a very difficult study, but it often involves the usual of melding the demonic with machines or other kinds of scrap code and various other Dark Mechanicus secrets. I don't know what the hell that is, Shy, but it looks badass.
It sure does. That is a really cool looking tank. Please tell me it's like a Triclops Annihilator or something.
One of the other ones that's really interesting is the Proteus Protocol, which I feel like was something mentioned in like the Grey Knights? Or was it Call?
Okay.
Maybe it was
I would guess Call. Yeah.
I'm thinking it's Call. Because, well, I remember the Grey Knights have some super secret shit locked away in case, like, it's like the last scenario. Super locked away, which I think is like either like kill the Emperor and like revive him in a way or like put him in something else. I don't know exactly what it is. The Proteus Protocol, I believe, is a variant of biotransference. Not in the Necron form, but it is like the use of imprinting a human brain into a machine of a sorts.
Ah, so Soma.
Yeah, or biotransference.
Yeah, sure, okay.
You know, it basically giving them like a full like mental immortality in a way, or not, depending if you're taking the Soma route.
Yeah, in Soma, it's like, what do you mean I'm still here? I thought I was supposed to be in my immortal shell. Sorry, you lost the coin flip that actually wasn't a coin flip.
It was never a coin flip.
It was never actually a coin flip, yep.
I mean, I could honestly go, I could spend, you know what? That'd be a great episode. Just a full episode on the horrors of the Dark Mechanicum. And yeah. Because there's a lot. There's even one called Vor Weapons. Yes, spelt that way.
Oh, it's not like, I suppose it's not a weapon that you just pull the trigger and they come to this place when they know they're not pure. Okay,
again, with the Warframe references.
Sorry,
it's
I
been
can't.
So many years, you know?
Listen, man. It's in there, all right? Sometimes you just gotta let it out. You know, you gotta purge the bleeding. You gotta let the swelling die down, right?
But you're spewing it more. It doesn't matter.
Lance the boil. Anyway, yeah. So what else are we doing?
So I mean, for the most thing, I mean, a lot of the old major tech, like Hereteks, for example. Obviously, the big one was good old Kelbor Hall. There's an old photo. I actually don't know much about this guy, but there's a guy called Lucas Crom. And he's got this old Jean Blanche artwork that just goes so fucking hard.
Ooh.
He's pretty cool.
Damn, yeah, that old artwork just like it never misses, does it?
Oh, I told you.
There's so much going on in that picture too. Like his robes are open just a little bit in his chest, and there's faces in there with wires coming out of it. His mechadendrites have like faces on it. God, that's creepy.
It's creepy, but it also has the old school like third, second edition type thing. Ooh, Shy's got something fun for me. Let's hear it.
I'm sure this won't be a horrific nightmare fuel-induced thing.
I was actually seeing a horrific nightmare-induced thing. I was considering talking about the Psi engines. Yes! You want to read that one?
Sure, the Califian Psi engine. A Psi engine is a dread weapon, barely controlled living psyker brain set within a weapon housing and goaded by neuro implants to blast foes with the power of the warp. When the user triggers the Psi engine to attack, the maddened psyker within it are goaded to strike at the closest target indicated by the wand. The foaming, blind madness of the psyker within constantly seeps through the Psi engine's null wards, and anyone within 100 meters is afflicted by half-heard whispers, fleeting visions of horror, phantom pains, and strange urges. Holy... They have an imprisoned psyker brain that they just poke and prod until it gets mad and spews psychic nonsense at people?
I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and it literally looks like a Resident Evil like flesh bag.
Yeah, that is grim dark, dude.
Woof. It's pretty fun. They got a lot of the it's one of those things that it's hard to discuss because there's just so many horrible we need another episode. We need another episode of specifically. All right,
yeah.
Shai, do you have another one? Okay,
one more uncomfortable thing.
Let's do one more because I want to make a full episode on just the awful crap they make because it goes beyond our thought process. Oh, I was actually going to read this one.
You want to read it or you want me to?
I talk enough. You can read it.
Okay. Quote of Dark Mechanicum Magi hacking Admech priest brain. No secutor, you may not move. Even now, conduction filaments are piercing your neural systems in unworthy flesh. So they send you to find me, did they? To carry out the omniscience judgment on me. Well, you found me, or more accurately, I found you, foolish puppet of meat and iron. Well, now you will dance on my strings, not theirs. Ah, yes, your last paltry defenses fall. In a way, I envy you. In a moment, you will experience the most exquisite of agonies as I rip apart and overwrite your synapses one by one. It should be quite the experience. Now, Secutor, open wide. Here I am.
It is very much reminding me of when they make the Archoflagellants, which is kind of like does the thing that it normally does, which that we like to talk about, which is like, hey, the Hereteks and the Imperium, they both do pretty awful things to people.
Yeah, they really do.
And they keep it up. They just keep going. Oh my god, Dark Mechanicum cogitators look like average streamer gaming PCs.
They do. Oh, wow. That does look like a big old PC tower, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Okay.
We'll make another episode for some of the horrible things they do, but I think the creation of Dark Mechanicum is the most important thing for today's episode, and also their belief system, which is just like completely throwing off the yoke of the Mechanicus's weird superstition.
Yeah,
they are not...
It seems like they're mostly like... If the Admech had no restrictions and could do whatever they wanted with no fear of repercussions, this is what they would do. With a little sprinkling of chaos here and there.
Just a little bit.
Just a little dash and do.
A little dash and do.
But yeah, that's cool. I love them. They really need to be represented better. Come on, G-Dub, what are you doing? You have a literal gold mine here, you know. And I know the meme is, oh well, GW hates money, but come on, man.
See, I am actually very curious to see if we're going to end up getting that level of new codex stuff because Admech, Vashtor is here. He's got his shtick. You've got your new Dark Mechanicum Horus Heresy weirdness. I don't think we'll get this codex this year because we're getting Emperor's Children. But not this year, this edition. But last edition, we got Voton and World Eaters. And so like normally it's like another codex plus maybe a heretic one, so Emperor's Children plus something else. So I'm holding out hope, but I don't think it'll be this edition.
Well, keep your fingers crossed, everyone.
Yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, at least the Spider Walkers and the new Horus Heresy stuff look really cool.
They do. They look super sick. It's just, it's Horus Heresy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, their stuff is pretty okay. I like a lot of their Solar Auxilia stuff. They got some vibes.
Yeah, they're cool. It's just, it's not quite what we want, right? It's not quite what the people want. Like, it's cool. It's great we have it. But, maybe a couple steps forward, huh?
I think the people want Dark Mechanicus, and I think the people are happy we're getting there, but we're not quite there. I mean, you can get some good demon engines and weirdness on good old CSM, but that is still Chaos Space Marines at the end of the day. I guess you can run like a middle ground army where you run like Vashtor, some like Venom Crawlers and Forge Fiends and weird stuff like that, but then you're kind of like not. It's not really the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same.
So either way. But yeah, that's like a very light, simple overview of the Dark Mechanicus. Oh yeah, I guess Chaos Knights are a little bit Dark Mechanicum, but
true.
And I mean, then it's kind of like how there's the Knight Mechanicus or Questoris kind of Knights when it comes to regular Imperial Knights too. But yeah, no, I don't know. I like them. I want more, and it's so disappointing that there's not something a bit more fleshed out for it.
Yeah. I feel like that's the probably the popular opinion. Everybody kind of likes them. Everybody wants to just see more. Just more stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that would be the popular opinion. I think most are just like, I really want more Dark Mechanicus stuff. And while it's cool that we have some things for good old CSM and all that, it's not enough.
Yeah.
So here's hoping we get something kind of neat. But until then, that Keldor Hall guy, what a guy.
What a guy. Well, he would probably be mad that you called him just a guy. He's like, I'm not a guy. I am not flesh.
He's far from flesh. Can you imagine they make like a Dark Mechanicus army and they just like literally have Men of Iron? There's just like that. There's AI. It's there.
Yep, that's what they would want. That's what they would research. That's what they wanted to do. Sure.
I mean, the rogue trader models do have one of them. But he's pretending to be normal.
Yeah, the one Men of Iron that's like, no, hey, me, I'm normal. Me, AI, no.
I would never be that. I mean, hell, the Voton have it.
It's true. The Voton are totally into it. Their ancestral machine things are just giant AI things that have been around for 10,000 years or whatever.
That's something I kind of forgot about too. Remember in the first Gaunt's Ghost book? They find the old Men of Iron manufactory, manufactorum,
right.
And they start spitting out
chaos tainted.
Yep,
right.
They start spitting out awful chaos tainted Men of Iron.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been.
Oh wow, yeah, I forgot all about that. That's right.
I'm just there's so many ideas, man.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are. Anyway, I'm going to I'm gonna go research the how to microwave toast. Now that there is a real Dark Mechanicum thing.
Yeah, it is. You just upset everybody. Did he just go microwave toast?
Can you? Well, you can microwave toast. I've microwave toast before.
If you microwave bread, it's not going to become toast. But if you've already toasted a piece of bread and you want to warm it up in the microwave, you can indeed do that.
This is the kind of stuff that, as Shy posted, Kelbor Hall and Call would argue about. Yeah. Are you microwaving toast or are you toasting it? I was like, well, is it a broiler or a microwave? What kind of thing is it?
Right.
Kelbor Hall probably would be like, yeah, you damn pretender. You're not even Fabricator General. I was and still am in my own way.
Ooh, and that would stick in Call so bad.
Maybe. I don't know. Call's kind of funky with it, you know?
Yeah, he is. He is kind of silly with it.
He's kind of a goofy guy.
He's just a goofy little guy with mechadendrites.
Yeah. Well, maybe maybe Call and him have more in common than we expect. He literally has his Call inferior.
he does have his silly little AI, doesn't he? Where it's like, oh, look at my Gilliman inferior. Hey, let me see how my silly little heretical project will go.
And then it starts arguing with Gilliman. It's like, hey, whoa, what the hell? Anyway, slight bit of Dark Mechanicus. See us next time when we make a evil doomsday weapons of the Dark Mechanicus type thing.
Looking forward to it.
That'd be good. I've already replaced my dick with a neutron laser.